I can't believe I'm saying this. You've all been waiting forever, but the wait is over. I have a book release date. Up until now, you've heard me talk about the Wheel of Connection and the Roots of Friendship framework in bits and pieces throughout the 175 episodes of Friendship IRL. But now, I finally have the book that ties it all together. An in-depth guide for where you are now, to what you want your connections to look like, to a real action plan for getting there. Basically, the missing vocabulary for every relationship in your life and a real plan for what to do with it. Are We Friends Yet? Yep, I know it's a good title. Are We Friends Yet releases June 16th, and I want you to be first in line when it drops. I set up a wait list. Check in the show notes for the link, put your name on. When you sign up, you actually get immediate access to the Less Lonely Club community. You also get the 10-day Connection Reset private podcast, and I got a few other goodies I'm going to drop for you too. This is the book I've been wanting to get in your hand for years. And all of you who have been here, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You deserve to be the first ones to read it. Get on the wait list today.
Hey! Alrighty, gang. Here's to nights that turn into mornings and friends that turn into family. Cheers!
Hello. Welcome to the Friendship IRL podcast. I'm your host, Alex Alexander, and each week we explore what's working and what's not in our friendships, community, and connections. Have you ever wished you could sit down and have a conversation about what is really going on in your friendships? Well, you found your people. Join us as we dive into real-life stories and explore new ways to approach these connections. Together, we're reimagining the rules of friendship. My husband and I keep secrets from each other, but not the kind you're thinking. There is a difference between hiding something from your partner and holding something for your friend. The episode I want to record today, this isn't about my life. It's not about my husband and I's goals, our finances, our marriage. Those belong to the two of us. And I think societally, it's very normal that sometimes we have things that stay just between us and we don't share what our partner has told us with the rest of our friends. But I see a lot of things on social media talking about how, well, if my friend told me, then it's assumed that my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my partner knows. And today's episode is about why I don't think you should do that. Because the things we're going to talk about today, they are somebody else's story. And they were never mine to share in the first place. Now, as I sat down to really think about this, because this is like an absolute value in Michael and I's marriage, there are really three categories of things that we keep secrets from each other about when it comes to our friends. The first one is that our friend explicitly asked us not to share. So they might be telling me a story or something that happened to them at work, or just like a deep life revelation they're having, something they're trying with their health, I don't know. And they might stop and just say, please don't tell Michael. And I take that to heart. When I say, of course I won't, I mean it. I do not tell him, full stop. And often, sometimes I'll even lie about it. If my friend has told me, let's say something about their health, and they're like, please don't tell Michael. And then Michael asks me something about their health, I might be like, oh, I don't know. I haven't asked them about that recently. Even though I know. Because it's not about me and Michael. It's about keeping a confidence for my friend. I could also just say to Michael, I don't want to talk about it. And that's kind of code between the two of us that he's not going to push. He's not going to ask me any more questions. He's not going to dive in further. He's not going to go ask other people. If that person, if that friend wants to share with him, they will share with him, and he trusts that. And otherwise, he's just happy that I am there for them. Now, the second category is that maybe the friend didn't ask me explicitly not to share, but I just know that this is something they told me in confidence. So an example of this is a few years ago, a friend of mine, we got together and we went on like a long walk. I'm talking like 2 hours of a walk. And she was going through a divorce. And I was asking her all sorts of questions about what had been happening and how she's doing now and how she's going to move forward, what her plans are as far as a living situation and work. I mean, I'm talking everything from what haven't you been talking about for the past few years? How did the actual conversation go? What does the future look like? Michael knew I was on this walk. He knew who I was talking to. He knew the point of the walk was to talk about the divorce that was going on. He is friends with this person. Now, she didn't specifically ask me not to share with him, but I got to the end of that walk. I got in the car. And I think sometimes my best reflections on this happen, in like that transition period between when I was hanging out with the friend and when I get home, whether that's walking or car or plane ride, whatever it is. Sometimes I just think about it and I think like, wow, I'm so honored that friend trusted me with all the information they just shared. I know they are not sharing that with many people. And something about that has me just thinking to myself like, okay, they didn't ask me not to share this with Michael, but some of these things feel so vulnerable. I'm not going to share them with Michael. Like if he wants to know, he can go talk to her about it. And if I ever was going to share anything, I would ask her first. But honestly, I probably never will. And so when something like that happens, I get home. He knows. He's like, how was the walk? And I'm like, man, it was intense. A lot of things have been happening that we didn't know. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I'm just going to tell you that I'm really happy we can be here for her. And that's about it. That's all he got from a 2-hour conversation, because I'm holding that for her. It has nothing to do with Michael and I. At the end of the day, I think he's just happy that she has someone. And that is what has us holding our tongue, is that we really value our individual relationships, even if they're not equal, right? He's happy that her and I have a close friendship. He doesn't need to be on an equal level. And if he did, he would go talk to her himself. Now, the third category is that it's not my news to share. And I have an example of this. A very close, very old friend of mine found out she was pregnant. She was overjoyed. I was overjoyed. And she told me and another friend, the three of us, in a group chat. And she very specifically was like, don't tell anyone else. Now, later I found out she didn't really mean we couldn't tell our husbands, but neither of us did. And you want to know why? Because our husbands also have a friendship, maybe not as close of a friendship, but a friendship with this person. They have been friends with her for honestly longer than I have. Michael has been friends with her for longer than I have. And so the thought of like stealing her thunder, stealing that moment for the two of them as friends, when she told him that there's a little baby on the way, he's going to be so excited. They should get to experience that together, just like I got to experience it with her. And so in that moment, even though she hasn't explicitly told me not to share, I actually don't want to share. I don't want to be the one to get the thunder. I want to watch them, hopefully, or hear about them if I'm not there, having that moment together. And so part of it is like not self-sacrificing, but like self-monitoring for her joy. Part of it is honestly like, I want the joy. I want the joy of watching them as friends for 2 decades find out this news. I think that's going to be so fun to watch. Now, I do want to briefly acknowledge, as you're thinking about this, you're like, wow, Alex, you might be holding a number of secrets. And you're right. Sometimes I am carrying very heavy things, illnesses, past traumas, friends going through their hardest moments, really tough things. And now I'm carrying it alone because I have promised this friend that I will not go out and share it with a bunch of people. And there is a cost to that. Sometimes I want to cry about something I know about a friend that I'm not telling anyone else because I hate that they are going through that thing. But that is a choice that I make and one that I really value. Now, you might be thinking, what does Michael think about all this? And honestly, I considered having him come on as a guest for this episode, but I think we would have just ended up meandering all over the place, and it would have ended up being just like a really long episode with a lot of fluff in it. I wanted to keep this concise for you. We really value in our marriage, and you can go back and listen to episode 2 all the way in the archives where he actually is a guest, and we do talk about some of this. But we really believe that our marriage is stronger when we have this web of support around us, when we each have connections that can hold us up when one of us doesn't have capacity, when one of us doesn't have a specific skill set, when, I don't know, Michael wants to go see a basketball game that I'm not particularly interested in, or I want to fly somewhere for a concert that he has no interest in that artist. So it can be fun things, it can be hard things, it can just be having additional people in our lives. We really value that, and we believe that that makes our marriage stronger to have this support system around us. And part of that is sometimes, I guess, sacrificing, even though it's not a sacrifice, like having these really strong boundaries and realizing that we're not always going to tell each other everything. And there are going to be things that each of us know that the other person doesn't know for the sake of those other friendships so that they stay strong. And it's to the point where sometimes we'll be talking about something and I'll look at Michael or he'll look at me and I'll be like, I know 3 things about people, like our friends, that you don't know right now. I wonder when you're going to find out those things. Those might be that I know somebody's pregnant. I know somebody's moving. I know somebody's switching jobs. I know somebody is going to learn guitar and they feel embarrassed and they didn't want Michael to know. They've just told a couple people. Somebody's doing something for their health that they feel self-conscious about. It could be literally anything. Now, I won't say this about things that I think he maybe is never going to find out. But if I think there are things that I just know sooner because a certain friend has told me, sometimes I'll tell him, like, I know 3 things right now and I can't wait till you find out about those things. And he has the same thing. You know, I can think of a time, well, many times, but one of them where a guy friend of ours that Michael is very close with, like definitely closer than I am, told him that they were trying to get pregnant, having a hard time conceiving, expecting, moving, whatever, having financial struggles. And they told him in confidence. So he did not tell me. He did not mention it to me. He did not give me any inkling that something was going on. And months later, these friends share with me or they share with a wider group. And they're often shocked because I have like a genuine reaction, right? I am like, whoa, wait, what's happening? And they're really trying to gauge like, wow, are you that good of an actress? I'm like, guys, no, I really didn't know. Michael really has known that all on his own since you told him. There's also times where, I'm thinking of one example in particular, where like one of us knows something about a friend that I would love to know. For example, there is a friend of ours that I know is having a hard time in one area of life specifically. I know kind of the general idea of what's happening, but I have not sat down and had an extensive conversation about what is going on. However, Michael has. She has told him everything, all the nuances. And on some level, like, would I love to know? Would I love to be read in? Sure. Yeah, I'm always interested in our friends' lives and especially want to be there to support them in their struggles. But for whatever reason, she feels like Michael is a better support person for her in this area of life. And that's not really about me. It's about the fact that our friend has someone she can turn to. I don't care if it's me, Michael, another friend, a parent, her partner. She has someone. And that is all I care about. So every once in a while, I'll look at Michael and I'll be like, hey, so that thing that's going on with her, are we feeling like it's okay or is it still going on? And he'll just be like, yeah, it seems like it's still going on. I'll be like, okay. And that's all I know, guys. That's really all I know. I know he knows all the nuance of who and when and where and like the most recent updates. I just know it's still ongoing and she's still struggling with this kind of generic thing. This episode is brought to you by Slowly, a digital pen pal app. You know how I'm always encouraging you to push outside your normal friendship filters, to not always make friends who are in the same stage of life, same background, same zip code. If you're ready to step outside your norm, then Slowly is the tool you need. Over 10 million people are using Slowly to exchange letters with people all over the world. So you have endless options for new connections. Here's the thing. If you're somebody who gets anxious about new connections, this is incredible practice. Writing gives you time to think about what you want to say, but Slowly takes this a step further. Letters don't arrive instantaneously. The further your pen pal lives, the longer delivery takes. We might have found the only modern platform where there's zero guilt for not responding right away. So, if you're ready to add someone new to your wheel of connection, someone you genuinely never would have met otherwise, download Slowly today using the link in the show notes. You'll get 30% off Slowly Plus for an ad-free experience, better search filters, and more. Now, I'm off to go find my new pen pal. Will it be you? There have also been so many times where this kind of trust has rippled out. And what I mean by that is, yes, Michael and I have this with our individual friendships, but then like friends of friends start to realize, or mutual friends. So this actually just happened last night. A friend was asking about some other friends and some big news they shared. And I was like, well, yeah, I've known for about 6 months now that this is happening. And they were all like, wait, you've known for 6 months? How have you known for 6 months? There was no inkling that you knew. And on one hand, I guess they could be upset about that, or they could be trying to like get me to break. But I also think in their minds, they think like, wow, well, if we told Alex or we told Michael or we told them together, they're like a vault. They're not leaking this to anybody. And that's what we are trying to create. If you set a boundary and ask us not to share, or if we feel like there is a boundary, we will work so hard to keep it locked up tight. Our friends know that if they ask us, we won't, even with each other. Now, the other thing about this trust ripple is if you think about my wheel of connection diagram, and if you're like, what is that, Alex? It is something that will truly change your life. You can either go listen to episode 100 or you can head to the show notes and you can get my book, because that is where I go the deepest into the wheel of connection. But my wheel of connection really breaks down the different types of connections in your life. And it also is connected to my Roots of Friendship framework, which is episode 12, also in the show notes. But something I want you to think about is if a friend is sharing something with me, and I would consider them a present friend. They are someone I have a very, very deep and extensive set of emotional intimacy roots with. We have a lot of story roots. We have a lot of beliefs and expectations about our friendship. They might share something with me, and then if I came home and I shared it with Michael, Michael might only be their defined or familiar friend. He doesn't have the same roots that I have. And so if they were all in the room together, this friend probably wouldn't share it with Michael because they don't have the same level of emotional connection. They don't have the same belief that he will support them. They haven't built up all this evidence of how he's going to react. And so I really take that into account. Like, not only is it the boundaries piece, but I think when you zoom out and you look at the mechanics of what are happening in our friendships, it makes a lot of sense. If a friend told you something, you told your partner, and then that friend is mad at you because they're just thinking like, well, I don't really know your partner. I see him at like a couple birthday parties and a couple parties here and there. They're not someone I would share with. I think that's totally valid. And the mechanics underneath that really back that up. If you're like, Alex, what the heck are you talking about? Go listen to episode 12, episode 100, or go get a copy of my book. Now, this entire episode, everything I am talking about today, this only works because Michael and I share a value. It works because we believe that our individual relationships outside of our marriage support each of us as humans, as people, as growing, changing beings, and that we each individually need that support. And when we are supported in that way individually, that shows up positively in our marriage and strengthens our marriage. It also just helps us individually out as people. And because we love and care about each other so much, I want him to have the strongest support system possible. Always. Even if something happened to us as a couple. I've loved him for so long, like almost 17 years at this point. Even then, with all the conflicting emotions, I would want him to have a very deep support system. And therefore, I want him to have those relationships and that trust and that emotional depth and that security, even if it comes at the cost of us working really hard to have boundaries to hold things for our friends. And like I mentioned earlier, if you want to go listen more about Michael and I talk about our beliefs when it comes to marriage and friendship, you can go literally all the way back to the beginning and listen to episode 2, where he is my first guest ever on the podcast. But that episode still holds strong. So that's today's hot take reframe, that keeping secrets from your partner, from another close friend. I know I really focus this episode on your partner, but this could also be in like a friendship trio, in a friend group, in a community organization. It is so important to respect the other relationships around you. It really has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the fact that your friends are holding something for their friend, not hiding something from you. It applies to all relationships, even if I really focused on marriage or partnership or dating today, because I do think that's the one where a lot of us give ourselves permission of like, well, they're my spouse, so I tell them everything. I don't like it. I don't like it. That's my hot take. Don't do it. You are doing it at the cost of your friendship. And keeping those secrets is not a betrayal. It is actually a gift. It is a gift when your friends can trust you fully, completely, even from your own partner, your own mom, your own sister, your other best friend, the pharmacist you met yesterday. That makes you a better friend. And it builds you a stronger web that holds you up and everyone else around you up. And in the case of this episode, even your marriage.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Friendship IRL. I am so honored to have these conversations with you, but don't let the chat die here. Send me a voice message. I created a special website just to chat with you. You can find it at alex.chat. You can also find me on Instagram, my handle @itsAlexAlexander, or go ahead and leave a review wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. Now, if you want to take this conversation a step further, send this episode to a friend. Tell them you found it interesting and use what we just talked about as a conversation starter the next time you and your friend hang out. No need for a teary goodbye. I'll be back with a new episode next week.